to be covering the home buyer consultation idea that many of you really should start doing. If you haven't started doing the home buyer presentation or the consultation at the showing, you probably want to start doing that. As many of you know, it's a very, very busy market. And so if you're setting the right expectations, it's going to save you a lot of time to do the buyer's guide. So tonight we're going to cover the buyer's guide, some of the components that you can download for free. There was a broker that came into our Tacoma office today, and she's one of our top producers, and she picked up 15 of the presentations. We
20.
can assemble them. How much was it?
20. 20?
Oh, dang. Okay,
yeah.
She's busy. She's going to pick up 20 presentations, and there's a lot of buyers she's meeting with over the next couple months. So she wants to have all of her professional items put together, and we're happy to do that for her in our office, and printing and binding and putting it in folders and having all of the things that you need to be successful. We're willing to help you in preparing for those buyer appointments so that we look like we have all of our ducks in a row. So take us up. Any of the offices, Linwood, Tacoma, Tukwila, Sumner, all four of the offices have the resources that we are going to go over tonight on the phone. If you're not nearby and you just need something in a pinch, I'll show you tonight where to find those items. And I'm going to just kind of treat Shannon as my go-to person and kind of really have a discussion with her so that you get a feel for what that buyer consultation is going to look like. Many of you just need to have the consultation. Get away from just opening doors and actually consulting with your clients rather than just being a tour guide. So we're going to talk about that tonight and what you may want to bring, what tools that if I wish I would have had it, I know I could have closed the buyer. So learn some tips and tricks from people that have gone before you and have done this for many years. So I'll start with a simple kind of story. So we actually had a situation in a brokerage that I work for in Salt Lake City, where it is a requirement in Utah to actually have a buyer agency agreement signed before you actually take a client out to show homes. So we had a brand new agent in my office that was coming in, and she's one of those people that had like charismatic personality, like super, super happy, upbeat, professional, always looked dressed the part, fantastic agent. I brought her in from, other sales jobs, and she wanted to get into real estate, and she struggled for the first 3 months because she was not. I said, how many buyer agency agreements do you have signed? And she's like, I don't have any. I've just been going out and kind of touring people around the area. And so we had to get very, very structured in what we were doing in Salt Lake City. And so what stemmed from that, and this was in 2009 and 10, where the market really was challenging even back then, we have a new set of challenges now where the inventory is sparse and we don't have a lot to show people. And there's a lot of inspections being done and a lot of confusion out there. And so no matter if it was 2009 or now, I would give Monica, it's her name, I would give her the same advice. So if Shannon was Monica today, I would tell her, you really need to have conversations with those potential buyers, not just go out, oh, I want to go see XYZ on Main Street. You're going to want to have a discussion. And so what we did for Monica and for Shannon is we created a very nice presentation that she could use. And we tried that for about a month, and still we were having some problems in getting the seller and getting the buyer to connect with her. And so what we ended up doing is before we had her go through the presentation or flip through the buyer's guide like we made for her, we had her do an intake sheet. So Shannon, if you could click over to the intake sheet. If you want this intake sheet where you can fill it in, or if you want it to be updated so it looks good, what I did for Monica was she had great conversations and she was consulting with that client. We got her to start using it. But even when we had that consultation happening, it wasn't until she started filling out this intake sheet, and then she asked for the business with the buyer agency agreement. So she took notes. This was the sheet that she used, and I branded it to Best Choice Realty, but in essence, this is the fundamentals of her sheet. just like a nurse will do like an intake on you when you go to show up at the doctor's office, kind of some basic. What she'd do before she'd go on her appointment is she'd prepare the package. She'd have the components we're going to go over today. And then she would fill out this intake sheet to the best of her knowledge. So obviously she knew their name, right? Otherwise she wouldn't be going out and making appointments with the people. But then she would have, maybe she wrote some notes when she was on the phone. Maybe she needed to know how they would be financing or things like that. And she would jot down notes on this page, maybe on the back or the front. But then this is where she could indicate maybe the husband joined the showing appointment. Maybe there was a daughter and she needed to write some notes down. There's something about taking notes when somebody is telling you something, just like if you were going to go out to eat at a nice restaurant and the waiter or the waitress didn't write anything down and then they came back with the wrong thing. It's the same concept. When a client sees you taking notes and writing something down, they automatically think that you're listening. You may not be listening whatsoever, but it's the perception that is the reality on something like this. So I would encourage you, if you have not done that, maybe you're just going out and you're having good consultations, but you haven't taken that step of actually asking more questions when you meet with that client at the first home or at the first appointment, and writing some stuff down and having them notice that you're writing things down. All of a sudden things might start to gel for you. So I would have, if you need this in a Word document, I'm happy to send this to you in a Word document. Just send me an email and one of my staff will send this to you tomorrow. And this is also available to download on our resource guide. So you may have to hunt for it. It's not easily found. Even Shannon was like, we need to put this in the buyer section. It's actually in the seller consultation section. But we are happy to send that to you if you want to send me a quick note tonight. So you fill this out, you're in person doing, writing down their price range and asking Shannon. So Shannon, we talked on the phone about your price range. We forgot to really discuss how you're going to be financing. How will you be financing this purchase?
Well, I need to sell my house first before I can buy this next property.
Okay, no problem.
But I've got a considerable amount of equity in my current house, so hopefully I won't have to bring too much to table.
Okay.
But other than that, it'll be financed. I'd like to be conventional if I can.
Okay. And you know the difference between the different financing types that I have here on the sheet?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay, perfect. So I'll write down your conventional, and then who will you be working with on your financing?
I don't know. I mean, I've got my current lender, but I'm not tied to them in any sort of way.
Okay. Well, I'll put down, I always recommend that you get a couple opinions on your loan. So if you have somebody you like, that's fine. I'll write their name down. I'll say somebody you know, but I also would recommend using a lender that I've used in purchasing properties and my family uses, so that you can get a second opinion. And he's on top of the game and he knows how to ask you the questions and check your credit and find the best type of loan and interest rate. Would that be something you're open to later today?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm going to write down your own, and I usually just write that while she's listening to me, you guys. I just write that on that line, and then put a little dash and put the name of the lender or the lender that I'm going to refer. And then that way it reminds me that I need to, once I get done with the appointment, I need to put her in touch with that particular lender. And then, today we're going to go look at some 2 stories, but I also was curious, Shannon, are you interested in multi-level and split levels? We didn't really discuss that.
I don't want to live in a split.
Okay. No problem. So we can just circle what type of house style that they like or what their needs are in that section. What about garage? We didn't really talk about that. All of the properties we're going to look at today are 2-car. But is there a need, can we do a 1-car with more parking, or does it have to be a 2-car garage?
I mean, more parking, obviously the better, but I mean, if the price is less, then we could potentially put in our own garage after closing.
Okay.
So I obviously would prefer to have some sort of shop, but if the price dictates that it's less than that, then we're okay putting it in after closing.
Okay, wonderful. So then you just kind of go through and what are your must-haves, and then maybe it's funny, I asked this question to, we had a dinner appointment last night with a friend of ours in our neighborhood, and they started talking about real estate because they know I'm in real estate. And I started going into my consultation because I've done this so many times. So I actually know the questions that are on the sheet almost verbatim. I found myself, it was funny, I was asking the must have and the would like to have to the husband, and the wife was like, no, 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 no. So you can really, when you're in person, you can have a really good consultation where you would not have, I would not have got that from just a phone call with the husband. It was having the husband and the wife really having that conversation and me writing down what is their must-haves and what would they like to have. This sheet is also helpful if you maybe are struggling trying to find the right property and you need to get people back on track. I would encourage you to have another consultation, bring them back into the office, redo kind of a consultation. Gosh, we're struggling out there, Shannon. We've looked at, we've gone out 3 or 4 times and we need to get on the same page. And I've used this sheet as a way to get on the same page with them as well. So maybe initially before they went and toured homes, they thought the must-haves were this. And then after having conversations in the office setting, we find out that there are some other priorities that became important. So use that, and if you want, like I said, the blank one where you could modify the questions, or you want to work the downtown high rises, or you do a lot of vacant land or foreclosures, we can adapt this sheet to make it make sense for you. Just let us know how we can help you with that. Can you go to the buyer consultation package?
Yeah.
Shannon, how much does it cost if I wanted to put all of the buyer consultation? I wanted my pamphlets, I wanted everything put together. And I know Lynette's here from Squam, so hi, Lynette. We can get you some packages put together as well and ship those over to you guys over there on the peninsula. We are trying to grow north and south and all the way up to the Canadian border. So we're not just the small brokerage like we used to be. We've expanded our footprint a bit more. So we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to purchase these buyer consultation packages. What are we looking at, Shannon, for this cost?
For one that's printed, bound, we spiral bound these with a nice clear cover and everything. They look very, very professional. It's got all of the disclosures. I actually do have one here in front of me. Looks like this. It's a folder. We've got a spiral bound presentation of what you're looking at on screen. It's got all of the disclosures.
And we get we purchase them from the MLS. So again, this is just a cost for us for our time to put everything together.
And it has the buyer agency agreement and a pen and a nice folder that all's ready to go. So the cost is $20, and you guys can pick them up at any of our offices. If there's any kind of customization that you want to do, we're open to doing that with plenty of notice, of course. Our marketing department can help you guys with that.
Okay, wonderful. Let's pull up the actual presentation. Again, this is a free download. So if you don't have it and you have a laser printer, this will print beautifully because of the way we designed it. Thank goodness we have a graphic designer that keeps in mind that you guys print on laser printers, and it does look very, very nice. You can see that she's given enough edge around it so that it's not a full bleed, and it does look very nice when you print or you bind or you just use it as a flyer, or you maybe assemble something else, or you use it as a presentation on your iPad. Whatever you choose as the deliverable, it'll look very nice. Okay, go to the next page. And I tell them when I present this, so I tell Shannon, before I even break this out of my bag, I would do the intake sheet with you first, right, and take a few notes, and then tell her before I open this up, I say, Shannon, I put together a customized presentation for our appointment so that you have all of the information about the company and about how we're going to help you find and locate and negotiate the best property for you. Okay, so I customize this for so talk about some of the fees and some of the things we want to keep in mind. But this is our mission, really, to help you get the best out of technology and the local expertise that you're going to need anywhere in the Puget Sound region. So that's what our mission is. And we have many offices. We have 6 offices all over the area, out in the peninsula, down south, up north, over 300 brokers. We're 100% debt free, and we've done a lot of sales in our area. You may not have seen our listings, but you've seen probably a lot of, we've participated in the transaction where we represented buyers. So we are very well versed in our area. So you can talk about the company a bit, which talks about the growth of Best Choice Realty, and that we're the #1 fastest growing independent brokerage in Washington. That is still the case. We are growing at a rapid pace with productive brokers that are experienced in our marketplace. So Shannon, one of the things that many of my clients ask me is, what kind of apps are you using? What kind of websites are you using right now? to locate properties?
I mean, I've used Zillow in the past just because we've rented out different properties before. So I've used them, but I've got realtor.com and Trulia. I mean, I don't know. I just, whatever one, I like the ones that are more consumer centric.
Okay. Well, there's many apps and many websites that you can go to, but what you want when you start to really hunt down a house is to find something that's responsive with the Northwest MLS. Our MLS is owned and operated independently, even independently from the Realtor Association. And so you want the most accurate data. And so with that, there's an app that I have that I can send you that's called HomeSnap. And HomeSnap will give you the real-time data and allow me to assist you in finding and locating properties. So some of the properties you found that we were going to go tour today are not available. So some of the Zillow things you were finding were not available. In fact, they'd sold like 6 months ago.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Yeah, so what we want to do is, we'll go out today and look at some of the ones that you had selected, but on our next appointment, what I'd like to do is set you up on my HomeSnap app so that we can stay connected with the home searches that you're going to be doing.
So it's kind of like texting, right? So like I could just text you within oh, cool.
Absolutely. And
Love
again, it's real time. So it responds very quickly when new listings come on the market. So we want to make sure you're up to speed on that. Super easy to use. You can communicate hot properties and be notified quickly on that. So this is something I put together for all my buyers, but specifically for you, I wanted you to understand it's been a while since you bought your other house, but what happens when we start the buying process. And so we're kind of actually in step 3 right now when we're going to go tour some homes. And what I want to make sure that we don't forget to do is step 2 and step 1, which is know the loan approval process. We need to get that going right away. And then also understand your purchasing options, which is, you discussed earlier when we took down that information about not knowing, should you go conventional, should you FHA? We want to go back to the drawing board and get back to step 1 as soon as possible so that we can stay focused on the search, because the buyer process kind of goes through step 1 through step 8. And I'm here along the entire way. So at any point during the process, you have questions about what is making an offer, what is under contract, what is the repairs. What's nice about working with me at Best Choice Realty is that we have access to, we're your broker contact for the entire process from step 1 to step 8. We don't outsource and say, oh, we're going to have somebody help you for under contract or have somebody else show up for the inspection. I think it's important as a professional to be with you the entire way. That's how I earn my commission, is being available to assist you with the appraisal, with the closing, and any questions along the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and I put this page together too, Shannon, for you, because a lot of people don't know how much is customary for earnest money. Side note for you guys, if you want to modify this page, we can easily modify it for you. Just need to let us know, and our graphic designer can make some adjustments. So for you, Lynette, maybe in Squim or down south, I found out down in Chehalis, earnest money can be $500. I was like, wow, this is kind of a new way of doing real estate when it's in an outlying area. So depending on how fierce your market is, or maybe how the buyers can control a little bit more, depending on what areas of the marketplace you service, we can adjust the cost to purchase for this particular piece in your presentation. But for you, Shannon, it typically takes about 10 days to complete the inspection. But right now, in the areas that you're looking in Tacoma, what we're finding is that most of my buyers are setting aside 3 inspection fees, and I'll tell you why. Their first choice usually gets picked up. There's multiple offers, and we may have to do a pre-inspection. So I would encourage you to set around $1,000 aside for inspection money, because I don't agree that we should just hurry and waive the inspection. I'm the kind of broker who likes to negotiate on inspections, and so we would do what we call a pre-inspection, where we would pay money for an inspector to come tour the house before we write the offer. And then when we get into competitive bid, you know what you're negotiating. If the roof needs to be replaced, we'll be able to negotiate some of those things. I don't like waiving the inspection. It does not help you or suit you well. And then the clients are not happy when you buy a house and then you find all these repairs that are needed that were unforeseen. So a lot of that can be uncovered during the inspection. Do you have that kind of money set aside for the inspection?
Yeah, we should be okay. As long as it doesn't eat too much into what we would put down for our earnest money.
Okay. Most people find it valuable to get the full knowledge about the property before they move forward. So we'll do our best to locate and identify the property, but it's a very competitive market out there. We need to have most likely we'll need to have your home on the market as well before we actually start making the offer. It does show that you're serious and puts you in a better position for negotiation.
Do most purchases just have like a general inspection, or how does that work?
Yeah, they'll do a general inspection. They'll crawl in the crawl space. I never like to go in underneath the house to see what kind of, there's water underneath some. There was a house last week that had electrical issues that were improperly wired underneath the house. Upstairs and sometimes in the attic, there could be potential mold. Those types of things want to be uncovered. And so an inspector would identify anything that's visible. They would do what they call a visible inspection and check out the home. I have in my packet here a inspection. So a lot of people don't know, well, who's the best inspector? I can recommend inspectors to you, and their prices are going to vary depending on what type, how big the home is, and what type of inspections you want them to perform. Above and beyond would be if you want a mold test, if you want a lead test, if you want infrared testing, like to actually see behind some walls, or a sewer scope. Those are additional costs above and beyond a typical standard inspection of just checking out the structural or visible defects on the property. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. And those need to be ordered ahead of time, and I want to make sure you have enough money set aside to do those types of inspections, because that is the buyer's cost. It's not the seller's cost typically on those inspection fees. Appraisals will run $750. Wow, they've gone up over the years, Shannon. $750 to $1,000 for an appraisal now. Your lender would order that, so we don't have to have that set aside right now. But some lenders require a credit card for them to charge your credit card for that fee. And then if we negotiate for closing costs paid for by the seller, then you would be reimbursed in essence for that appraisal fee.
Gotcha.
So the closing costs range anywhere from 2 to 5%, and it's going to be based on what your lender is charging. So you will need to kind of look at what your personal lender, you said you had a lender that you know, but I want to compare what your personal lender or your banker is offering you in comparison to somebody like Movement Mortgage or Caliber Lending, something like that can compare what you're doing or what you're doing with the bank. Sometimes they can save you thousands of dollars just by shopping the closing costs or looking to see how they're structuring your loan. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So I should just ask them how much my closing costs would be when I talk to this other lender?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. They'll provide you with what they call a disclosure, and it's truth in lending. They actually have to provide you with an estimate if it's to be a valid application that's taken. So I encourage most of my clients, if they have started out on this journey, to get what we call a double application taken, because you don't know what your bank or what your personal lender is going to offer, and it may not be as good as, say, somebody that I've worked with for many, many years who has done a lot of and has proven themselves with the transactions that they've completed. And then there's some tips to remember, but we can talk about that later. Shane, I have it in your packet. Keep going. This is just talking about some of the other buyers that have been very happy with my services. But at the end of the day, I want you guys, you and your husband, to really, this is what how I get paid, is I help meet your home buying needs, help you find the best home, secure the best financing, completely keep you informed with the app and with the text messaging that we're going to do throughout the process. And then my brokerage remain committed to 100% satisfaction. We want you to be completely satisfied with the process. And I negotiate the lowest price. That's what you're hiring me to do. And what's nice about this is I work exclusively for you, and I'll help you. And most of the time I'm able to negotiate my commission with the seller paying that. And this is where I lead directly into the buyer agency agreement. So I click on, or I'm going right in here and explain to Shannon what they're signing. One tip that you guys need to be better at doing is having this pre-filled out. So when Cheryl picked up 20 of these things, I want Cheryl to make sure that she fills these out before she goes into her appointment with the date that she met with the client, the name or the full legal name of the buyers, her name goes in the broker section. All of that is filled in so that all she has to do is once she goes from the close, which is that page right before, that where it talks about, and you should memorize that page. Honestly, how do you earn your commission? By doing all of those things, by negotiating, by helping them locate, by helping them secure financing, doing all of these things. You should almost memorize it. If you're a new broker, spend some time with this page, memorize this page so that it comes verbatim, so that you can have that conversation. It's very fluid. You're not reading it. You don't want to read it. You want to go right from this page where you can highlight some key points of how you're going to earn your keep or how you're earning your money to the buyer agency agreement, and then get their authorization to work for them. How I'm going to work exclusively for you, and then we go right into the buyer agency agreement. This is how Monica was able to go from having, she had zero her first 3 months, and she had, I think she had 12 of these buyer agency agreements signed the first month. Once she started having conversations and getting really good at having them signed. And again, it was a requirement in Utah. It's not a requirement, but I would highly encourage you to start using the buyer agency agreement more than you have in the past, because there's provisions in here that allow me to go after the commission if somebody tries to steal your client away from you. And there has been some of that has happened in the last 3 months. So if you want me to fight for you, you got to give me some armor. You got to give me some kind of mechanism in order for me to fight for your commission. This is nicer than the buyer agency agreement on the MLS, so I'd encourage you to use this one. It's already filled in, so all you have to do, the commission it talks about, you can highlight that one section. It says the buyer authorized the broker to include an offer to purchase with the said fee. So we even wrote that in, as well as how we would handle things. So if you go to page 2, you have them initial. You just have them, I manually have them initial this one, the second one, and then also the third one. That's a full signature, and you sign the broker. And that gives you the full rights to negotiate, to get information about off-market properties, to identify different things for them. This second page right here, the third page, it says if you're a lender or not. There's a box you should check. I need to probably make that an automatic checkbox that says that you're not, but you need to check that you're not a mortgage facilitator. We actually have quite a few lenders that are also licensed as real estate brokers in our group. So they need to check the appropriate box. And then the affiliated business warranty, we have a relationship with some different warranty or service providers, so it allows them to understand that that those we might be getting some benefit from. So you would have them sign this, and then this goes in your file. If you represent, say you represent a listing, a seller, and you represent the buyer, you have to have a dual agency or a buyer agency agreement. So this is what we are asking for. What we need is something like this, a 41A, or the MLS has their own 41A, but ours is better. If you look at it's tightened down some of the points. It's provided for 120 days. It's a much better agreement when you look at it in comparison to the one on the MLS. If you can go to the Best Choice Realty Home, Shannon, before we wrap up. And I want to show people where to go to find these items. So if you go to the marketplace, I believe you can buy some different things. So you could pre-order and then have it available for your use. Presentation materials. There's the, you can kind of assemble the buyer presentation right there. That's the assembled, or the buyer package. There's two different, there's the buyer presentation or the buyer package, which has everything in it that you would need. All of that comes included into a nice package, kind of like the listing box or the listing package. We have all of that's what Cheryl picked up. She's like, I don't even want to mess around with going to the MLS and gathering all that stuff and putting it all together. So if you need something custom, you can send an email directly through this portal of what pages you would need, and Lori would assist you in helping you with that project. Go back to the home. And then if you go down to the quick links, there's a buyer presentation link. If you click on that, all of the items we discussed are in this area. So you could download this for free and print it on your home printer. The Ultimate Buyer's Guide, you just click the Ultimate Buyer's Guide, it will come right up. I love the buyer agency services. So if you click on buyer agency services, this is also included. I usually like to have that, if I get stuck, like, oh, I want to sign an agency agreement with you, Rochelle, then I can pull this out and go, this is what I provide. This is what I do. So what you're saying to me, Shannon, is that you don't want to sign an agency agreement and start me working on this. This is a lot of work that I do for my clients. This is what I do for them. So I do a consultation and I educate you on the process, and here are some of the things that I do to earn my keep. I do all of these things. I verify homeowners association fees. I download and review property tax information. Again, I want my clients to be well informed when they make a buying decision. So all of these things are things that I do, and I'm happy to provide this to you, but I do need your commitment in signing the agency agreement before we can work together. If somebody does not want to sign the agency agreement, there's got to be a reason why they don't want to sign the agency agreement. It's because either they are working with another person, or you have not earned their trust, or there's something, a question mark over your head about why they don't want to use your services. But I have not had problems. I've been doing this a long time. So I've rehearsed and I've practiced and I've role played and I've used the buyer agency agreement in multiple times, most people are fine signing it, but you have to have confidence, and you have to have earned their trust before you put the agency agreement in front of them to sign. That's what holds that relationship together. So if you don't get the agency agreement signed, be my guest, that's up to you, but you're going to work really hard and not have any insurance knowing that you're going to get paid. You better hope that they trust you and that you have a relationship, and they're not going to find somebody on a weekend, or that you're going to be out of town, or that you're going to find some issue with how you're addressing their needs or asking them questions. Even Shannon was asking me questions where she may still be trying to interview other agents to try and decide if she wants to work with me. So I better have asked enough questions and built enough trust before I put this buyer consultation in front of her and asked her to sign an agency agreement. Because the relationship can go a different direction if you have not maintained that loyalty and trust. Does that make sense, Shannon? Did you have any other questions, or did I cover enough on the consultation?
No, we are good.
Any other questions that you guys have run into? I've got a few more minutes. I'm happy to answer questions. If you have questions, you can chat them in the chat window, or Shannon, you can go ahead and unmute everybody if you'd like. We've got 18, so shouldn't be too bad. Willie, how's it going for you? Let me unmute you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, I can hear you. Go ahead.
It's going good. I've got 4 new leads today, and I'm working on them.
Awesome.
I've got 2 closing. Unfortunately, we had to give those long closing dates.
Yeah, I know.
But they're going to close. So it's going good. And I've got 2 new clients I'm meeting this Saturday.
Awesome.
And I'm glad I came in today, because I'll be using that.
The consultation.
Consultation, yeah. Right.
Yeah,
right.
something tangible. People like to touch and feel. They still are very tactile. Human beings like to touch and feel something. So along with your business card, I definitely have some materials that we discussed tonight with you.
Yeah,
printed.
I plan on doing that.
Yeah, and if you want to come in, we can, assemble something for you. Danita, Danita's got your back. So.
That's a girl.
Yeah, she's your girl.
Her and Shannon both. Whenever I start feeling myself going down, I make those phone calls.
Okay, very good. Any other questions that I didn't cover to you guys for your business? I know things are really, really, I also print the sheets. I'm kind of old school that way. So the homes that we're going to tour, I'm going to have the sheets. I don't give them the agent detail. I give them the client detail. So that they kind of have like, here are the 5 or 6 homes that we're going to show. And then I also have a copy of what I'm showing, so I can also take notes as we go through property to property. And then I have in my car, I have like the garbage dump where they're riding with me. They know about my garbage dump. It's usually on the side of my car where I fold it nicely, and the ones that are no-goes, we just tuck it in the side drawer and we don't go back to that house. Some of them are some really bad listings too. I've seen some junk stuff. So the good stuff goes quick. So I will tell Shannon that the good stuff goes quick. We got to have your house on the market in order for us to be competitive. I will tell her that, and it's a lot easier to do that in person than on the phone to build the trust. So I'll ask her maybe more questions about her house, what she's done to prepare it, when I can come over and get the pictures done so we can get that on the market. So again, you want to kind of help them, represent them on the sale as well as the purchase. No better way to do that than at that listing appointment or on that buying appointment, one or the other. Some people like to go out and look for homes before they sell. Lynette.
Yeah, hi. Well, you know, I've been in this business since 1980, so it's really hard for me to go along with this buyer agreement just because I've never had to do it before.
Yes.
I mean, obviously it'd be nice to have had it since then, but so I'm resistant to it. And so my clients I live in a retirement community,
Okay.
so mostly my age or a little older, and they're going to be resistant to it too. So what do you say if the bottom line is no, they don't want to sign it?
I ask him why. That's it.
Okay.
So just ask them why. Because when they don't want to sign it, there's something that's holding them back. And I want to honor and respect their wishes, right? So that's kind of so why, Lynette? So I'll ask you why. So tell me what they would say. They said why. You ask the question why.
Well, maybe because they've never had to sign one before. Why should they now? And they may want to go with they like to deal directly with the listing agent because they're online shopping and they're contacting the listing agent directly.
Right.
So they don't want to be limited.
That's right. I completely understand where you're coming from, Lynette. I would feel the same way as you if I were in your position, not wanting to commit. But there's a lot that goes into the real estate process nowadays with all the apps and the phone and the contracts and all of the things that I do. And I've been licensed for over, what are you, 30 years, 40 years?
40.
40, dang. See? So with that comes a lot of experience and know-how to be able to help you get the best home. And, what is it that I have not covered that you feel, unsure about signing here? Because this is just committing us. If I don't do a good job for Lynette, we just rip it up, right? We're not going to hold to this. My broker would just rip it up as well. She wants to make sure that the clients are taken care of at Best Choice. So it really is just a contract that holds me accountable and then holds you accountable to working with me for a period of time. So you kind of you've got to practice it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something I was used to doing as well.
And not to be negative, but what if they won't sign it? Then what do you do?
You can still show them homes. You just run the risk that they're going to refuse.
Yeah.
They can fire you and go with somebody else. So yeah, you can certainly back down. I mean, you don't want to push somebody into it, but you certainly, I think you could, if you include it and it's all filled out, most people are not afraid of signing it if it's all part of the package. So maybe add some more to your package. Does that make sense? And then put that at the back.
And you said that you could work with me to customize it to include my company name.
I think that would be awesome
Choice.
for you. Yes, you bet. I think that would be a great thing to do for you.
Yeah, I had a buyer not too long ago. He was United pilot, 35 years with United and making good money, and had a nice home, and he wants to buy a hangar home over here. And he, and he's obviously good on the internet and everything. And he's still kind of, Lynette, what do I do? And so that package with all the steps for the buyer to do would have been really nice to have.
Yeah, all of that is downloadable. So, but yeah, we can customize it a little bit more for you. I mean, color still would work for you. We just need to kind of add a few more pages maybe into your package. But yeah, it takes practice. So I would say don't be shy. But just like I asked you the question, well, why would you not want to sign it, Lynette? Just kind of go down that path. Let them come up with the objection because you're going to get it, and then be prepared on how you're going to respond to the objection. It's no different than if they say, I don't want to sign the listing agreement. Well, why don't you want to sign the listing agreement? It's the same philosophy as working with a buyer. So awesome.
That's good.
Okay, good stuff. Anybody else have any other questions or thoughts for today's session? Willie, thanks for your input too. I appreciate that. It's nice to have some input. Doesn't mean me talking. Okay, you guys have a great week. We'll talk to you next Monday. See you later.